949 or Facebook us BBC London 94.9. It's now 7 minutes past 7, and 3 London men, as we've just heard in the news, have been found guilty of drug offences in Dubai and have been jailed for 4 years. Sunit Jia, Grant Cameron and Carl Williams claim they were tortured, though, after being arrested on suspicion of drug offences last summer. David Cameron says he'll raise the allegations of torture with the President of the United Arab Emirates, who begins a state visit to Britain tomorrow. But Dr. Abdul Khalik Abdullah, who is a professor of political science in the UAE, says there is no proof to support the men's claims.
You could say whatever you want, okay, but I go by official statement. UAE here is not a country that practices these kind of things. British officials have all denied this too. So these allegations are there, and many of this is not true. And just, somebody has to come and look into it.
Joining us now is Rori Donaghy, spokesperson from the Emirates Centre for Human Rights, a London-based research centre focused on the Gulf. Good morning, Rori.
Good morning.
Firstly, your reaction to the sentencing this morning. Is that what would have been expected in this case?
Yes, it's not too much of a surprise that they've been found guilty. I think what's more important here is that the verdicts are irrelevant in light of the allegations of torture that they've made and the fact that they've gone uninvestigated, and also the fact that the police officers who have been alleged to torture the 3 men give evidence in court and haven't been investigated for what they've supposedly done to these 3 boys.
How likely do you think torture is in a case like this?
I think that the UAE has a long history of using torture as a tool in detention. Amnesty International have been documenting torture at state security facilities for several years. A man, Lee Bradley Brown, another British citizen, died in Dubai custody in 2011, which went uninvestigated. And these 3 men now have spoken to the Foreign Office. They've met with reprieve, and based on the evidence available, which included an X-ray of a broken hand from Carl Williams, they say that they had guns pointed to their heads, their testicles electrocuted. A torture expert, Dr. Frank Arnold, has written a report saying that their injuries are consistent with torture. The investigation the UAE have done is by no means sufficient. They just asked the police officers if they did it. They said no. They've come back and said that there was no torture involved. And running alongside this is a case of 94 political dissidents in the UAE have peacefully called for democratic reforms in an autocratic state. And they too have alleged that they have been violently and horrifically tortured, which has again gone uninvestigated.
Is it more likely in cases, though, like drug offences, for torture to be used against foreigners?
I don't know if you could say it's more likely or not. I mean, I think things are terribly inconsistent in Dubai. I mean, the police officers involved may have just got a bit annoyed and they act with impunity there because there's no way of holding them to account, as you can see with the comments from Dr. Abdul Khalik. He said that torture doesn't happen here. People just don't believe that it does, so police officers do whatever they want. That's just the way it is.
What would jail time be like in Dubai for these men?
It's difficult to say. It's different depending on which prison you're in, frankly. I think that they're lucky that they're not of another nationality, because if they were Emirati citizens in their own country, they would be likely subjected to horrific acts of torture throughout their detention. These 3 men, we can't say what will happen to them now they've been convicted, but we can certainly say that based on their treatment so far, that they should be brought home, and David Cameron should use the opportunity of the President being here in the next couple of days to raise these issues publicly, not like Boris Johnson, who recently visited and called himself the mayor of the 8th Emirate, who was silent on human rights abuses.
In fact, we spoke to him about that, and he said at the time the reason for his visit, of course, was purely economic, and he didn't want to get involved in talking about the regime. Do you think he should have done that?
Well, I think that 2 of these 3 men are from London. They're his citizens. I think that the government, and especially Boris Johnson, has neglected their responsibility to represent these people effectively, purely chasing money. In a country where I think that we need to be very careful. We're talking about big arms deals with them, and this is a country that has a private mercenary army made up of Colombian soldiers who, the New York Times said, is to take control of civil uprisings. If we're to sell them more warplanes, as suggested by David Cameron, we need to be very careful. What on earth are they going to be using these weapons for?
And in fact, it's our understanding that all 3 men are from London. Mr. Cameron, Mr. Williams are from Wanstead, and Mr. Gill is apparently from Ilford. But thank you very much for joining us.
Essex, yeah.
In fact, without being pedantic, the London Borough of Redbridge. But thank you very much for joining us this morning. That was Rori Donaghy there from Emirates Centre for Human Rights, a London-based research centre focused on the Gulf.
And just